Welcome to Summary History, where we take a look at civilizations and the major events that took place within a specific time period in history. Today's episode will feature the Celts. The Celts were various tribes who shared many similarities, including tradition, language, and culture. They had originated north of the Alps in Central Europe, in what is now present-day Austria. The Celts began their migration to other parts of Europe, including the British Isles, Spain, France, and even parts of Anatolia. The Celts were made up of several tribes split into regions, such as the Gauls, the Gaels, the Britons, and the Galatians. The Celts appeared in the Late Bronze Age in 1200 BCE, and later organized into tribes around the Upper Danube. They established trade relations with the Greeks. Artifacts of Greek origin, such as wine vessels and arrowheads, were found in various places such as Burgundy and northern France. In later years, the Celts shifted towards trading with the Etruscan civilization in central Italy. Around this time, in the 6th century BCE, the Celts began their migration westward into Britain, Hibernia, and Iberia, where they formed many tribes that spanned most of Western Europe. Around the year 400 BCE, the Celtic tribes migrated south across the Alps into the Italian peninsula, attacking the Etruscans as well as the Romans. They burned the fledgling city of Rome on what became known as the Day of Alia, before they finally halted in the island of Sicily. After the siege of Rome, the wandering Celtic bands settled in northeastern Italy, remaining a threat to the Roman Republic up until their defeat in 225 BCE. Almost 200 years later, the Romans began their conquest to unify the Italian peninsula under the Republic in the Samnite Wars. The Etruscans enlisted the help of the Celts as mercenaries in their war, helping them to defeat a large force of Roman troops in Arretium. But the following battles would end in crushing defeats for the Etruscans and the Gauls who offered to aid them, and in the coming century, the Etruscan civilization, including the Celts of northern Italy, had been fully conquered. The Gallic Wars of 58 BCE saw the rapid expansion of Roman territory into mainland Europe. The many Gallic tribes in southern France and Iberia were either annihilated or subjugated under Julius Caesar's armies. During 58 BCE, the Arverni general Vercingetorix staged a rebellion aimed at driving out the encroaching Roman army out of Gaul. Vercingetorix implemented various guerrilla warfare tactics to harass the Romans, such as scorched earth strategies and hit-and-runs on Roman supply lines. This proved to be effective, but Julius Caesar was known to be persistent, and so brought his army further into Gallic territory until he came upon the city of Avaricum. The city's residents pleaded to Vercingetorix not to let it be burned, as it was at the time a source of pride and beauty for the Celts of the land. Thereafter, a fierce battle ensued, and the fortified walls of Avaricum finally broke to Caesar's army. The Romans still pressed on until Vercingetorix was quartered in the city of Alesia in modern-day France. With no hope of escape, he surrendered and was executed in Rome. The nation of Gaul was entirely conquered by the advancing Romans, with as much as 300 clans being subjugated and over 800 cities destroyed during the span of the Gallic Wars. Later on, the region would become known as Roman Gaul, or Gallia, in which the Celtic inhabitants were assimilated into Roman culture. Like the Gauls of mainland Europe, the Britons fused with the Latin culture brought by the Roman conquerors, and influences such as language began to take place. Surprisingly, much of Celtic culture survived the Roman occupation in the 1st century AD. This can be attributed to the lack of Romanization in other parts of Britain, such as Wales and much of Scotland. Nevertheless, the Celts and their culture continue to live beyond the post-Roman era until the present day in both Britain and Ireland.